One. Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today, if you can tell by the also creative recording sound of my co-host here, we're talking about the Cuphead Show.
We're going back,
So
ladies and
it is
gentlemen. That's right.
yeah, okay. This is not gonna be good for the rest of the episode. But yeah, we're talking about the Cuphead Show. But before we get into the show itself, I think everyone kind of knows by this point that Cuphead was originally a video game. And Wolf, what is your experience with Cuphead, the video game?
I ain't playing that. Not saying it's a bad game to those who enjoyed it. I ain't looking for hard games anymore. I'm too old. I can't do hard anymore.
So
Give me
yeah,
soft
so
and
I'm
easy.
sorry to say, I'm sorry to say that you know Cuphead is not a game that I would play because again I don't mind challenge, but when the challenge becomes that, it can take me out of it a bit because maybe it's the ADD talking, but I'm a very impatient man, so I kind of want to get a move on with those things. Then again, Cuphead is a game I own, and Cuphead is a game I appreciate beyond any kind of words, considering the amount of effort that they put into the animation and the process and everything about it. The two guys who made it had to mortgage their homes in order to get it done.
Yeah, I
That
absolutely respect
is,
the developers for making this game and the work they put into it. 100%.
yeah, just because I'm not a masochist doesn't mean I can't appreciate the game. It's like really in case the developers of that are listening or something, kudos to you. Like really bravo, as
Yeah,
the game says. If
they
you beat one of the.
absolutely deserved all the praise and awards they got for the game because they put so much effort into it. And it showed, and they got, rewarded for that, I would say.
Yeah,
Deservedly so.
yeah, because I think it was 2017 when that was released. That like Cuphead got a lot of awards, a lot of attention, a lot of positive feedback, and like totally deserved. Really, totally deserved. I'm so happy that it turned out the way it did. Again, wonderful Cinderella story in the video game world.
Yeah.
So that only logically led to kind of the kings of video game adaptations, kinda depends, to make an animated show about Cuphead. And yeah, here we are now talking about the Cuphead show. So, Wolf, for someone who didn't play the game but knows about the story behind it, knows about its uniqueness and stuff, what was your thought when you heard, oh, there's a new Cuphead cartoon coming?
My thought was, I mean, it was already pretty much like designed with that idea in mind in the first place. So I thought, well, that should translate pretty well. No clue what they'll do for like the characters or the story or I suppose my thought was I wondered if they'll really stick with that old style cartoon and it'll be completely like the only thing you'll hear is effects. There'll be no speaking. If they do speaking, it'll be the old style words on the screen deal, right? So
Yeah.
my thought was I wondered how much they would stick to their theme, but otherwise, I'm interested. I'm not like out of my way interested and hyped for it or anything like that. But yeah, this is neat. Like I hope it turns out good for them. Was my
Yeah,
thought.
and I would say that I expected it to be, I expected to keep to the idea of, the very old cartoons,
Mm-hmm.
30s, 20s, whatever you wanna, those decades.
Yeah.
But I also know that I prepared myself that changes are gonna be made, maybe to the animation style, and and maybe like you said in terms of dialogue and voice acting and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I am really glad to say, jumping the gun a bit, that nothing seemed sacrificed here. Like, the animation is spectacular in this show. It mimics the game wonderfully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe it's me, but there's like they created sets and then CG'd the characters onto some of them, did they not? Because some of those sets look like they were made, like, not. Some of those sets
Yeah,
don't
some
look computer
shots.
animated. They look like the sets were handmade, essentially.
Yeah,
Maybe that's
I
just
get
me,
what you
though. I
mean.
don't know for sure.
I can't tell
Because there's
you. I
nothing that
can't tell you, from
says.
looking at it. Yeah, I can't tell you from looking at it. But regardless, like, if it's CG that they just put a line walk on to make it look 2D, or if it's legit 2D, it still looks really damn good.
Yeah.
It's like it
Yeah.
matches so well.
Yeah, it looks
And
amazing.
mhm. And honestly, kind of going into opinions, really, I think the show nails exactly what it set out to do. Like, whether if you're a fan of the game or not, and really, I think make fun of me for making that comparison, but kind of like in the Sonic movie, it feels like that if you're not a fan of the original game, then you'll follow along fine. You can enjoy the show regardless of the source material and if you know it or not. But if you are a fan of the source material and you do know that, there are some cool references and Easter eggs that will make it that are there to make you happy, but if you don't know the game, then they won't distract from anything. It won't just seem weird to you.
No, like I think they, yeah, like I would say the general show format, the general story, they're not really there, but getting to it, I would say, and the characters and everything, like all of that it feels original to this show. Like if you came into the show no idea of the game or any of the source material, you'd be perfectly fine. If you knew of the game, then you would see some characters introduced and some things going on and like some locations and stuff of that nature that, oh yeah, this is familiar. This is from the games. Like even some scenes feel like they're taken, not one for one, but feel like they're taken from the game and given the show spin.
But yeah, because a lot of the enemies from the game make appearances as fully fledged characters, and some of the animations too. For example, there's a point in the very first episode where Cuphead does this, has this animation where he picks his pants up to yeah, I'm about to practice. That's from the game. Whenever you start a boss fight, that's one of the animations he has. So yeah. So again, it's one of those things that if you didn't play the game, you wouldn't notice. You wouldn't even know. You just think this is just how they decided to animate it. But if you're a fan of the game, you're like, oh, I see what they did there. So nice balance. Like, this is how you do references and callbacks right. With that said, the overall story is a bit different. There's the devil is still an essential character in this, and he's wonderful for the record. I love the devil in this.
Yeah.
But you know what? Should we talk about this now or in spoilers? I don't know, because it's not much of a spoilery thing because it's the overall plot. So minor spoilers ahead. Minor, very minor.
Yeah.
But in the game, what happens is that Cuphead and Mugman go to the Devil's Casino and they bet their lives, while gambling, as one does when in Vegas. And in order to get their souls back, the devil basically sends them to collect the souls of other people who owe it to the devil, and that's your excuse to fight all of the things that you fight. So and in here, it's more of, for one, it's a carnival, which honestly fun. They do something funny with it, which I appreciate. But it's not necessarily that now they need to go save themselves from the devil by beating everyone up and giving their own souls to the devil. It's just that, the Cuphead kind of owes the devil his soul, and it's something that they sometimes remember and sometimes they don't.
Well, they play with it, right? Like I think it's
Yeah.
Cuphead gets away with his soul, and he still owes it to the devil. The devil can still take it, but he's just unable to because they keep thwarting him at different opportunities.
Mm-hmm. And I guess if the one thing I should probably mention, because I've also seen people complain about it, and I don't agree with this at all, and because apparently people complain that this show has no lore or development or something like that, and it's like, what were you expecting?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Before we jump into major spoilers, I think it'll be interesting to dive into the fact that this, come into this expecting that it's not like current cartoons. You're not going to get a story per se. This is like older cartoons where it was very much kind of episode of the week style. You still have some stuff going on in the background. Maybe looking at season 2, they're going to get into more of that. But I think it's an interesting discussion because can you do a show like this? I would say, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this show does pull from some of the old, in terms of inspiration, I feel like this show kind of pulls from, I would say, Looney Tunes, Animaniacs a little bit. Like, it's not pulling from
very Looney Tunes,
old
Animaniacs,
shows, but it is pulling from
and
older
also,
cartoons.
very, and also obviously the very old Disney stuff.
Yeah.
I'd say I think though that maybe Looney Tunes is a better comparison because because a lot of the jokes are not just slapstick; they are also very dialogue based. The characters have this wit and a lot of the things you're laughing at are what they say and how they say it. The interactions.
Yeah.
So I'd say Looney Tunes Animaniacs with the old Disney style.
Yeah, I think
It's
that's
kind of
a
a
good idea.
mashup of those.
It definitely pulls from those even older cartoons in terms of styling, but I feel a lot of inspiration is very much based within old Looney Tunes. And I feel like, that's a good definition or, idea for the show, or like what to expect going into
Something?
it.
You say old Looney Tunes, but honestly, the current Looney Tunes show on HBO Max is like literally the same as like the old. So you can also say current Looney Tunes.
Well,
even,
yeah.
but
Like, I mean, you can't
the,
change a broken formula. If it, an unbroken formula, I should say. Looney Tunes, it's terrible. No, Looney Tunes works for what it is. But what I wanted to ask you is do you think, because watching it, I was very curious. I wonder if a show like this, I mean, I guess Looney Tunes is still around, so I guess it can, but in a general sense, I wonder if a show like this can work nowadays, like without the story, without the, through line of the story going through and the characters developing and getting better and things like that. I wonder if an old style Looney Tunes show can work nowadays.
I'd say totally so. For one, and not saying that Cuphead is like that show. There are differences, mind you. But
I would agree.
you need to keep in mind that arguably the most popular cartoon character these days is SpongeBob. And SpongeBob has SpongeBob is a show that lasted for over 20 years now.
God,
And
I'm
it's
old.
still got tell me about it, dude. But you need to realize that it started at a different time, but there's something that keeps people coming back to more SpongeBob, even and SpongeBob is a show that doesn't have any, maybe it will teach a moral here and there or something, but at the end of the day, it's 11 episodes. You have a plot for 11 minutes. That's it. That's the show. Next episode, and not a lot of things carry on to the next episodes. So I'd say it can still totally work these days. And something, in this current climate where we just have, and not just a live action, animated, whatever, where every show feels like they need this, seasonal continuation, that overarching plot. It's also nice to have something that I can just sit back, put on an episode for 11 minutes, not to think about how everything connects, and just enjoy what I get.
That's fair.
Just because we have shows that let's say, we talked about a lot of something like Senator World, for example. Not sure if Inside Job is a good comparison to this, but
No.
actually, a good comparison to this might be Amphibia, if you know it.
Amphibia? I don't think I've heard of it.
It's a Disney cartoon, but also or like the Owl House thing that you can enjoy episodes individually, but there is a bigger plot revolving around it. Those cartoons are great, and honestly, some people even say I mentioned Amphibia for a reason because it's kind of like Cuphead. It's like each episodes are 11 minutes. Sometimes they're longer, but the core show is two 11-minute episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say that the first season, which is the most fillery, is the worst one because it takes a while for something to actually move on with the main plot. And it's like, on the one hand, fair, but on the other hand, what's wrong with just seeing a bunch of likable characters just getting into everyday problems?
That's fair. I think it really depends on what you're looking for. I've said in the past, right? I enjoy those shows that have those story through lines more, or have the character through lines more. At least, sorry, losing my voice. Something that you can kind of grasp onto and see develop as the show goes on. I do enjoy those more. But I will admit, like, I still enjoy stuff like Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, and even this show. For me, they become. It's not something I necessarily watch super closely. They tend to become background shows. Like, I can put this on in the background, right, when I was younger, and just kind of watch it without paying too much attention to it, and still get something from it, right? And I think I agree with you. I think it's still nice to have those shows. And if you want to pay closer attention to it and pick up on a lot of the more detail that it does have that you can see within it, especially in terms of animation and some of its slapstick comedy and stuff of that nature, then you can get that from it if you want it. But otherwise, it's just there for you to, hey, I laughed at that a couple times. That was good. And then move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, I think it's important to note when considering the game that this show is based on, I got exactly what I thought I was going to get because the game is very old school in its presentation. This is very old school cartoons and stuff. So I didn't expect anything modern from it. I'm happy that it actually took that route because not that there's not an overarching plot because there is, but it's not the major thing.
I think if they get a season 2, you'll see more of a plot in season 2.
They do. We'll get to it later.
But I think like the most unexpected thing for me is I wasn't expecting voice acting coming into it. Like that was, I wonder if they would do it. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I'd be interested to see if they didn't. They did. And I think that was interesting. Like, looking at who they got to do what voices and everything. Like, and I think they made a lot of good picks. Like Wayne Brady as King Dice is just beautiful. He does great.
Yeah, if anything, my only complaint about it is that we only have him for one episode.
Unfortunately, need more King Dice.
So far, maybe that could change.
True.
Still,
definitely still want to see more King Dice though.
Yep, you're not the only one who says it. I was about to bring this up. This is like the one because I think he's also one of the more popular bosses in the game because he is one of the devil's,
right hand
number
man.
one.
Yeah.
So
jumping straight into spoilers.
Episode by episode.
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, this is the point where if you don't want to know anything about the Cuphead show in regards to what happens in the episodes, close it, go watch it, come back because I highly recommend it. It's fun. It's just a good time. And I don't think I laughed so hard at the show in a long time.
Fair.
Okay, you agree with me. Good. So episode 1.
All right, we kind of talked about this in a little bit already, but this is the start. This is kind of how you get the idea of the devil kind of going after Cuphead's soul, because they go to a carnival. The carnival is obviously orchestrated by the devil to steal a bunch of people's souls.
Evil.
Yes, Carnival. They don't realize this until Mugman doesn't realize this until later. And
you know something? Let's just get this out of the way. Mugman is the mood character of this show.
Most of the time. Sometimes he's not, but most of the time, yeah.
Yeah. But by the way, I like that Eldo Kettle just tells these two kids to paint the fence, and Cuphead's first instinct is to just put all the color in a cannon, blow the fence up, and he's like, I guess I should have used less gunpowder.
It's true, he should have. It would have probably worked.
One, yes. Two, this guy gets me.
Fair.
So they go to the carnival, and Cuphead just basically nails that softball game, which, if you lose, takes your soul.
But thanks to Mugman, he eventually does lose, and then it's just the episode's basically just a big chase scene through the carnival, and you get to see them doing a bunch of slapstick, and it's really great.
Yeah, but can we talk about the devil? I love how the devil just has this place where he collects souls, and he has this musical number, and then his henchman is like interrupts and says, "What do you want? Can't you see I'm in the middle of the song?" Like, this devil just, wow, brilliant.
I was looking up a little bit. I don't know the person. It's Luke Millington Drake. I've not heard much of him.
Yeah.
In terms of VA work,
honestly,
I think from what I understand, he's a theater person. He does a lot of theater stuff, and different theater troupes and stuff. So, I think it's a good pick. I think he does really great.
Talking about this, with the exception of Wayne Brady and Gray DeLille, who's doing Miss Chalice. I don't know any of the actors by name, but all of them do a good job.
I think I've heard of a couple here or there, and I've seen them in other stuff. Like Chris Wilde, he's been in other stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Not many things. He's been in other things. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell some of them, yeah.
Yeah, but I just don't connect the name to something else. But yeah, so back to the episode. I think it's a good first episode to, for one, hook you on the feel of the show that you are getting yourself into, and two, also set up how set up the main conflict between Cuphead and the devil, and just both get new people who haven't heard of the game into the feel of this is the kind of show you're getting. Have fun, and for the people who play the game, yeah, it's not gonna be exactly the same, but you're gonna recognize what you're going to see. You're going to see it as Cuphead, and yeah, good first episode.
Yeah, I think it sets the tone for what you'll be seeing and getting into going forward. I think this is probably one of the more slapstick heavy episodes. The next couple episodes after this are a bit more dialogue heavy. You have a lot more dialogue based jokes. In the first episode, I think they very much go with the slapstick comedy a lot more. I think that is a question to ask. Which did you prefer from the show more? Sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to say that I think there was a good balance between the slapstick and the dialogue humor in the first one. But which type did you say you prefer?
Well, I was going to ask you, which do you prefer more, specifically from this show? Which do you think they did better at, slapstick or dialogue?
I'd say it might depend on the episode itself and kind of what they're going for, but because I have favorites from this type of humor and I have favorites from that type of humor. But overall, I'd say, again, I think it depends. I won't necessarily say that they need to stick to one and lose the other, because there are a lot of moments where, like, I'll get to it when we get to that episode. But there is an episode, I think it's 5 or 6, one of the two,
Mhm.
where like that, maybe even later, that it's like really the dialogue and the slapstick work really well together. So I'd say, again, depends on the episode.
That's fair. I think for me, I tended to get more laughs out of the dialogue humor than I did the slapstick. Not to say the slapstick was bad by any
Yeah.
means. It's just the dialogue got a few more laughs out of me than the slapstick comedy did,
Mhm.
personally.
Yeah, because I think also for slapstick, there's also the kind of the idea that a lot of slapstick humor has been done before,
Yeah.
unless you can really find a new thing to do with it. It's kind of harder. I think slapstick is just harder to do these days.
Yeah,
But
once you've kind of
so
seen it,
that's a
like you kind
thing.
of know where it's going to go, and it's harder to get a laugh out of it, I would say. Still doable,
But
but it is harder. And plus,
I do think though that. Sorry, go ahead.
and it might also just be I don't think people are as interested in, because slapstick humor is a lot about, oh, we got to put these people through pain. They got to be in pain. You got to see them suffer
Yeah.
from it, and that's what makes it funny, is them suffering. I don't think a lot of people are into that kind of humor as much anymore. Not that it's bad. It's just I think that particular brand of humor, like seeing people in pain and suffering, I don't think it appeals to as many people anymore nowadays as well.
I'd say,
Or maybe that's
I
just a
guess
me
that
thing.
maybe I won't necessarily say it's a you thing, but I'm starting to feel like, considering the type of world we live in today, it might be funnier when it's not a human that does it, like stuff
Fair.
like the old Charlie Chaplin, let's say. Those or some of those other live action comedians from back in the day.
Mm.
Those I could barely laugh at those anymore, because it's a human suffering. I
Yeah.
have enough suffering in my own damn life. I don't need to say this. But
Fair.
if it's a cartoon cop or cat and dog or stuff, I can get into this a bit more, because obviously it's not real. They are not designed like real things. They are not designed. I think one of the reasons Tom and Jerry did so well when it picked up was because Tom wasn't a regular cat. He was obviously humanoid and cartoony, and when he got hurt, it was a human scream, not a cat going. That's my cat impression. Sorry, but the point is that if you can make it abstract enough, slapstick can work for me if it's too abstract. And I don't know about you. I haven't seen cops being a living thing, so maybe I could just accept it in this show more.
That's fair. That's completely fair.
Uh,
It wasn't so much that I couldn't accept it. It was just a lot of it just didn't
yeah,
appeal to me as much, I suppose you would say. Like, I didn't find it as funny
yeah,
as a
I
lot of the
get you.
dialogue jokes. Like, Baby Bottle, episode 2. I'm segueing. I'm doing
I was
good.
about to segue.
This one
into
has
that
a lot
with
of
the idea
slapstick humor, and I don't know. I didn't find this one as enjoyable as, say, the first episode, personally.
I'd say, because in terms of the plot of the episode, when I say depends on the episode, I think this episode's premise works for slapstick, because this is like the classic. I think even Popeye did those, that you need to take care of the baby, and the baby causes you trouble. This is slapstick material 101.
Yeah.
And so I think they did enough well with it in this particular episode to really to get that reaction out of you and get you to laugh. And the timing is good, and the animation is they use the fact that it's animated to their advantage. But there's also the part of, again, when I say that I'm reminded too much of my own life. I don't have a baby to take care of at the moment, but I've babysat in my life. there's something that's kind of uncomfortable at some point where a baby can cause so much damage to a person who doesn't want anything to do with this baby. So,
For me, it
uh,
was more so of I felt like I've seen this before, and so it's just kind of, not bad. Not saying it's bad or anything. It was a good episode. It's just I felt like I've seen this before, even if it's different. I've still seen this before more than once, so it just didn't appeal
yeah.
as much. It's not a fault of the shows. It's just again, like going back to it. Once you've seen slapstick humor, it's hard to you know all of the beats after a certain point for certain things at least,
Mhm. Yeah.
and so it's harder
Again,
to get that laugh
they're
out.
always, yeah, because like I said, slapstick is also something that really relies on timing and, in this case, the animation. How do
Mhm.
you animate this? And for the record, I think the show does it well, but at some point, it's also if at some point I also want the guy to catch a break, especially when they because it's not like again Tom and Jerry where the guy who gets the slapstick is the bad guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of want him to suffer because I want Jerry to survive. But in this, the people
Sometimes you
getting
want
beaten
Jerry
up
to
are the
suffer
main
too, though.
characters.
Jerry's a dick.
Huh?
Sometimes you want Jerry to suffer
No,
too, though, because
Jerry's a
he's a
dick
dick.
sometimes, and yeah, Jerry's a dick too, and he gets share of punches and
Hmm.
bombs and whatever. But in the basic point is that Tom bad, Jerry good.
Yeah.
That's the basic premise. So I say that you know what, when you see Tom suffering, it's like, yeah, he's the bad guy. Let him suffer. In this, the two characters who get the slapstick, who are the victims of the slapstick, are our two leads. And at some point, it's like, can they just take a break? Can they just put this baby in an orphanage and let them deal with it?
Fair. Although I don't know if this baby deserves an orphanage. This thing is evil.
Yeah, yeah. So you know what? Forget orphanage. Can they just drown him?
Jesus. I wasn't going to say that, but okay. You went there.
Oh, hey, there are no middle grounds with this baby. It's either all the
It's fair.
extreme or not.
It's
Yeah.
fair. It's,
Okay.
it's Cuphead's a dark show. We're dealing with the devil here, so.
Keep in mind that while this is going on, actually, I kind of thought it would be funny if we found out that it's actually the baby is actually the devil in
I
disguise,
thought that was
and
gonna
he
be
just
like
wants
something
to.
they did, like the baby was the devil, but they never go back and link that.
Yeah.
I thought that'd be a great idea, but they don't.
Well, what can you do?
I mean, it's fair, like, right?
Anyway,
But talking about slapstick that I thought was really good, segueing into episode 3, I thought the slapstick in this one was
yeah,
great. Ribby and
yeah,
Croaks.
and not only was the slapstick in this great, but again, another one where the slapstick and the dialogue like complement each other and they
Mm.
balance them well, in my opinion. And also, I just want to say, fuck this boss in the game from what I've seen. Because you fight both of them at the same time,
Hmm.
and then they turn into a slot machine for no reason. But anyway, so Cuphead and Mugman are looking for ice cream because they're kids. Kids want ice cream, I suppose.
Fair.
And
I'm
and
an adult and I want
essentially
ice
they
cream,
end
so I
on,
get that feel.
yeah, exactly. So and then they get to this cruise ship with the Frog Brothers, and hijinks ensue.
This is true.
All you need to know. There you go. A fun episode. Have fun
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much
with
describes the
kind
episode.
of a moral, in the end,
Yeah,
sorta.
your family, don't fight. That's pretty much the moral. Make up, apologize, and then move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not too much to say about this one, other than the fact that I think because again in the game you just fight these two in their club and everything, and when you're fighting them, one of cool details is that everyone, like that, the audience in the background is actually cheering the fight on, and there are two dancers who keep dancing the same thing, and nobody is watching them, and I'm not sure why they are smiling, knowing that everyone just ignores the show to see these two cops fighting the owners. But I think they really nailed that chaotic feeling of what the boss fight was trying to give you.
Yeah, especially in the
And they take
background and
advantage,
everything that's
and
going on. Yeah.
yeah, and the fact, and they know it's a cartoon, so they take advantage of it and show you other things. Like, they get into the kitchen, they're in the show floor. There's just a lot of fun visual humor and gags with it. Just not a lot to say. I just thought it was a really good episode.
Well, I do like the change here, because these aren't supposed to be enemies in this one. They actually end up being friends at the very end of it, right? It's in my opinion, I think it'll be interesting to see where they take these characters, right, Ribby and Croaks, in the future if they get more seasons and everything, right?
Yeah, and that's another thing that I'm really hoping for, that characters do get more screen time because you don't end up killing them like for obvious reasons. So let's see where that goes.
True.
So moving on to episode 4, Handle with Care. I am just gonna move on to the ending here and say that when I say slapstick is hard to, it's hard for slapstick to surprise you these days. The ending caught me completely off guard, but
That's
I
fair.
loved it.
That's fair. The ending was really good because the entire idea of this one is their handles break. Cuphead and Mugman's handles break, and how that affects them and how they feel about that. And the ending is they get their handles fixed by the Handle Fairy, and they toast each other, and then their whole heads shatter.
Yeah,
it's a simple joke, but it's very clever, especially considering the idea is they go through all these death-defying and horrifying moments and get very badly hurt and broken up, but their cups, their heads, which are cups, never shatter until this moment when they toast each other. It's a clever joke.
And I also like that there is confirmation that they actually have drinks inside of their heads, which kind of operate as their brain. So
it's weird how they play with the drink thing. Like, there's no sense to it, and then there's sense to it sometimes.
Like, these artworks people do of how the cows from the Cows movies operate.
I know, and I wish I never saw that. I wish no one had done that, but they did.
Yeah, but I think you would agree with me that this is creepier.
I feel like that's creepier. The Cars thing. I feel like that's way creepier than this. Because people actually drew out the organs and everything for the Cars thing. Like, seeing that, it's like, ugh, no. That will that's nightmare fuel. This is just it's milk or water, whatever you want to call it. And we'll get to that one in a later episode too.
Yeah,
I don't know. It never felt like it was their brains to me. Like, it never felt like the show went far enough to be like, oh yeah, this is their brain. This is what's going on here. It never felt like the show explicitly made it clear that's what it was. At least to me, anyways. So it never clicked right, and it never was a thing of, ugh, that's creepy.
Yeah. Okay.
At least, I could stay ignorant of that idea. Put it that way. The Cars thing I can't stay ignorant of because people went out of their way to draw it and then share it everywhere. And yeah, sure, those movies weren't great, but now you've made it worse somehow.
I never underestimate the internet.
Listen, artists, we didn't need that. You brought it upon us. We didn't need that, and I will forever judge you for that. That's all I'm saying.
But yeah, back to the Cuphead Show. Okay, I'm glad that they made the pig a character, and also that he sounds normal and not like he wants to take my soul whenever I try to buy stuff for the game.
Pork Rinds is another great character. I thought they did really well with in here in the show. Doesn't get a lot of screen time, but the screen time he does get is very enjoyable.
Yeah, because essentially they made him like the joke shop owner who doesn't like kids and like just wants to make a living, and then Cuphead and Monkman gonna ruin his life by walking into his shop. But yeah, but yeah, again, like you said, he's not showing up a lot in the show, but whenever he's on screen, he's a lot of fun. Also, I like that fast glue is like for these guys is basically like band-aids for us.
True.
That's like, oh, our handle's broke. Well, let's go buy some, quick glue.
I
And
also
that's it. That's
love there's a great dialogue joke in this one that's very on the nose, but very subtle in what they're doing as well. When Elder Kettle's talking about how, oh, you've lost your baby handle and that you'll get a man handle. It's like, fuck you, show. I know what you're doing. Fuck you. But also, damn it, that's funny. That's clever.
It's one of the, because obviously they're referencing the entire thing with the teeth, but I think they're also going for.
Yeah, like it's very like on the nose innuendo and everything. What you're doing here, I get it. It's funny, it's clever, but fuck you.
So, anything else to say about this one? Because I think again, just fun episode, fun dialogue. I think I would say that the ending bit really makes the whole thing worth it, but it's still a fun episode.
Yeah. I think, you have to remember, right? Like, it's interesting because there's 12 of these episodes, and they're all only about 10 to 11 minutes long, thereabout.
Yeah.
I would say 10 because if you take away the intro theme and everything. The intro
and the credits,
it's about 10 minutes long. And that works for this show. Like, it doesn't, if it was any longer, I feel like it would be too drawn out. It doesn't need to be 20 minutes or more. Like, it'd be way too drawn out if it was 20 minutes or more. It was a good idea to keep all of these at 11 minutes, almost precise, 10 to 11 minutes precisely, and let it be at that.
Agreed. So, shall we move on to episode 5?
Yeah, the best episode.
DVD, whatever it is. I don't know. But yeah,
Mr. King Dice.
So we have Roll the Dice, where we have King Dice, one of the most popular bosses in the game, and like we said, performed brilliantly by Wayne Brady. And just I love the idea that because it's a radio show, because again there are no TVs in this time frame. It's we're going really old school. That we can basically just cheat the game however he wants, and nobody really picks up on it unless they're in the audience.
I also love though it's a radio show and they have a live audience. Like, what?
Yeah. I guess it's one of those things that it makes it more it would make it more entertaining where you can watch it live.
It's fun because it's also a really clever joke of the live audience from a lot of shows you'll see on TV today, but it's a radio show. You have no need for a live audience, but yet they have one anyways.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but I also kind of say that in universe there are people who would still want to go see it because they want to see
in universe it makes sense, but it's also again it's that clever joke. It's one of those clever jokes that don't need to be told, but once you get it, it's like that's funny.
By the way, one moment that at first kind of creeped me out because I wasn't ready for it is when King Dice is talking to his own reflection in his dressing room, and then the reflection talks to him back and it's like, what the hell? Like, for a quick moment, I was actually taken aback. It's like, didn't see that one coming. But yeah, so that's fun. And then I love it that like Cuphead and Mugman just arrived there by complete accident. And then King Dice is like,
Elder Kettle's lucky tire.
Yeah. Also, I love when they come back at the end and I look at it, literally goes, yells Cuphead like, really? That was your answer?
Oh, yeah. Like, the entire idea is this game cannot be lost. It's literally impossible to lose because King Dice is collecting souls for the devil. So we link back to that. And
Mhm.
Cuphead just does not, cannot win. Like, plays the easiest song in the world, Twinkle Twinkle Star, guess the song. Cuphead does not get the song guess. And I love the joke at the end where it's
Yeah.
just Elder Kettle yelling the answer to the song at him. Doesn't care that they were on the
Yeah.
show, why they were on the show, anything about that.
Yeah,
The fact
and
that
like
you
he
couldn't
doesn't
get
even
the
care
answer
about the
right.
lucky tire. It's just like you got it wrong, dipshit. Not in these exact words.
Elder Kettle is
Uh,
nicer than that.
Yeah. Supposedly, we'll get to it, but yeah, I just love the idea of, because you can tell the game is rigged from the start, but then when like Cuphead just messes it up and he can't win, and everyone's like, why does he get a prize? He didn't win it, and even Cuphead is like, why would I do it? And it's like, it's Cuphead, considering his characteristic in this show and even the game, I would say. It's like, yeah, if even he calls you out, it's like, yeah, no, I don't deserve a prize. I didn't really win anything. It's like, yeah, give up, man. You need something else.
I love how the catchphrase for the game is, for the final game is roll the dice, any number, and you get to go to the mystery prize room. You win automatically just so long as you roll the dice. What's going to happen, and it's one of those things where what's going to happen. They've been kind of building up to the fact that he's going to roll the dice and somehow they're going to get destroyed or something's going to happen to where he fails to win at this. And yet it's still enjoyable to watch. It's still funny. And maybe it's just because of the reactions from King Dice and everything that make it, but
yeah, it's the reactions, it's the timing, it's just the whole scenario of everything. And just seeing how this little couple just keeps fucking up with the devil without even thinking about it, because Cuphead has no idea that King Dice is working with the devil.
I'm trying to,
And just like he has no idea in the first episode that any of this has to do with the devil. So he's just a complete mess, a complete lunatic in this world. And you would think he won't be that hard to catch, but guess what? He fucks them up without even trying.
Mhm.
And that's hilarious.
Yeah. Agreed.
By the way, so talking about King Dice and the devil, I love that King Dice can just call the devil up when he's in the shower. I don't know why. It just cracks me up. The fact that the devil takes calls while he's in the shower.
He's the devil's number one, man. You gotta answer for your number one, even if you don't remember who they are.
Yeah. But then, when King Dice has to answer for his failure, I really like the animation in that part. You can tell they're starting to get a bit CG, but it works. It works for that one shot where you see the camera turn around everything.
I love how they tend to save it for when they really need to make a character do something that's very much, you can't physically do this, or especially to show how scary and evil the devil can be, right? And everything he can do. I love how that's when they'll really throw in the CG pretty heavy. But again, it makes sense in that scene because you're trying to really show how evil the devil is, or how, scary he can be as a character. And this is one of those moments where you really get to see that kind of scary, that a little bit of that scariness, shine through in terms of the design and everything.
Yeah. And I guess moving on to the next episode, Ghosts Ain't Real.
Speaking of scary.
I just want to point out that the way the souls are drawn and animated, both in the game and in this show, are very much ghost-like. And yet we have this episode where they're afraid of ghosts.
This is true.
So, on that note, I guess nothing much to say on this one. It's just a fun Halloweenish themed episode. I guess it's the best way to call it, even though it's not Halloween. But Cuphead and Mugman just creepy zombie movie, and they decided to go home through the graveyard because it's shorter, and the ghosts and skeletons and zombies in the graveyard are messing around with them.
Yep.
Fun,
And just trying to
nothing
scare
special.
them. And like the entire idea is the ghosts aren't really trying to do anything to them. They're just trying to scare them a little bit and show like, hey, ghosts are real. And once they think they've killed Cuphead and Mugman, you know, the ghosts are like, oh man, we didn't mean to take it that far. And they have like a little eulogy for them, and then they realize they're gone. And that's the end until they get back home, and then Elder Kettle starts attacking him because he thinks they're zombies.
Yeah. It was like you said, like you remember how you said in the previous one that Elder Kettle is too nice to say dipshit? Yeah, after this, I won't
He is
throw
too nice
that
to say
option
dipshit.
out.
He's just, you know,
I would.
he's a nice old man.
Violent people curse, Wolf.
He's a nice old man. He would never curse. He might beat the shit out of you, but he would never curse. He's a nice old man.
Oh, that excuses it. But like I said about Ghost and Thrill, it's a fun episode, nothing too special, gets the job done, like the ending.
Fair.
And also the visuals are really good. Like the color, the schemings and stuff, those are great as well.
And how they move and everything. Yeah, it's again another enjoyable episode. Not too much you can say about it.
Indeed. So I think next episode we have is, let me look at the name.
Root Pact.
Episode
7.
Root Pact.
Yeah.
Because I think I know that the developers of the game were involved. So this, not to say it's a bad episode or anything, but I can just see the one of the mandates they gave to the show creators is just, you need to put the first boss in the show, like the vegetables.
The vegetables.
That's all we want from you. Like there was just a list of things of this is how you should, like this is your guidelines. This was one of the guidelines. I'm willing to bet.
Fair. It's a good episode. Again, it's another. I feel like it's kind of Ghosts Ain't Real-ish, similar to that episode, in that it's a good episode. It's enjoyable, but there's not too much you can really talk about other than some of the slapstick and jokes, which work.
Yeah, but at the same time, I like the main joke in this one more, where it's where both sides are kind of trying to guilt trip each other, but it just ends up causing more and more trouble until it just goes completely out of hand. So I think I related and found this one a lot.
I do personally, I really enjoyed the final joke in this one where, they decide, well, we're going to get back at Cuphead and Muckman, and they take like all the water and kill Elder Kettle's plants, which was the entire reason that, Cuphead and Mugman were in the situation trying to protect Elder Kettle's babies, his plants. And Elder Kettle's getting better, and he comes out and he's like not even worried that his actual garden is destroyed. He sees these other vegetables that are giant because, they took all the water, and he's, well, time to do what you were created for and start cooking them, and they run away. Because they thought, hey, we're going to get a free ride off of this old fella now because he thinks we're his babies, and nope.
Again, it's one of the, like I said, there's just this big buildup of things you should and shouldn't say, but things you should say, shouldn't say, how you say it, what can a person, get from what you're saying, and then it all builds up to this place of like, well, they're grown up, time to eat them, and they run away. That's why I found this one funny. I just like how we kept building up those things that are honestly kind of real. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I enjoyed Root Pact more than Ghosts Ain't Real as well, myself personally too.
Yeah. Well, so now we're moving on to kind of a plot episode, Sweater Off Dead.
This is the first technically two-parter.
Yeah.
This one and episode 9 are two-parters, essentially, really. Like, this is the first time you get to see episode 8 and episode 9. I feel like you can talk with talk about combined somewhat because this is the first time you get to see kind of a
And we
story
can.
through line
I
continued
wouldn't
on.
mind it.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean,
Mhm.
the entire idea is Cuphead is still having nightmares about, the fact that he owes the devil his soul, and so him and Mugman figure out a way
Which is
to protect him.
interesting. Yeah, which is interesting because because we just see him being so nonchalant about this, about the idea that he owes the freaking devil his soul. But then we see that it does kind of affect him. It does get to him
Mhm.
in other ways, and also that fucking devil is troll when he starts just showing up in random places. It's like, oh, and it's like, yeah, I know you're the devil, but geez, dude.
But yeah, like the entire premise is because he's having those issues and it does affect him. The idea is, well, we'll get a sweater for you, and we'll go talk to this,
An invisible sweater,
yeah, invisible
which
sweater.
makes the devil go.
Well, it electrocutes him. It doesn't allow him to touch Cuphead and steal his soul. It's basically like, think of it like oh crap. Now that I need it, the thing's gonna fucking disappear out of my brain. Stun gun, but sweater form. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. The devil cannot touch Cuphead because he's wearing a invisible sweater that it only works because it was knitted by Mugman, his good brother, and he has that brotherly love involved and everything, and it works. Don't question it. Magic.
Yeah, like honestly, we live in a world where the devil is just a person that walks and has a guy run, a radio show in order to give him souls. I am done questioning logic. If it exists, it exists. I don't care.
Also, I love how the devil, like, they do kind of explain why, hey, we've not been focusing on the devil because the devil just didn't care about this one soul. He lost it, not a big deal to him. It bothered him, but he was just ignoring it because he was getting all these other souls.
Yeah, it's like
the devil only comes
out there to get.
The devil only comes back after Cuphead because of like this other demon that works for him named Stickler, who's being a stickler about it.
Which, by the way, please tell me I'm not the only one who thought about the teachers from Troll Hunters.
Yeah.
Here's your crossover, people.
It's an easy. Oh God, it's an easy thing to remember back to. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
and it kind of leads us to episode 9, which is one of my personal favorites because now now Cuphead has the sweater. So no matter what the devil tries, and the devil tries a lot of things to get at Cuphead,
yeah,
he can touch him. He can take his soul. And again, another montage where just Cuphead and Mugman do random shit, and the devil just shows up. It's like, I come for your soul. And he keeps trying. It's like, this devil is very persistent. He is good at his job. He's not giving up. Kudos.
I also like though that they also start to show like, oh, there's some problems with continuing to wear a sweater all the time.
Yeah.
And it's hot and many other things, and so they get to this idea of, well, I'll take the sweater off if you paint the fence for us, because the fence has to be painted again. Because gotta come back to that joke. And
the devil actually goes full on Fantasia. Like, I didn't know the Fantasia reference in this, but hey,
which was great.
Which is even funnier now that I think about it, because it's not literally the devil, but there's that what's the name of the segment in Fantasia which has the devil creature?
Oh gosh, I don't even remember. It's been so long.
Bald Mountain?
I think
maybe?
so. Maybe. Gosh, I don't remember.
Like that. But but again, that you just
Correct
have this.
in the comments below.
You have a devil character, reference Fantasia, with the Sorcerer's Apprentice with Mickey Mouse. But then you realize, wait a minute, there's a devil in Fantasia.
Well, I also I kind of like the joke of, oh, it's the devil himself doing the Mickey Mouse thing, because Disney's kind of a devil themselves, quote unquote.
Let's not get into this debate now.
topical humor here from the Outcast.
Yeah. But when I said that there's a good balance of the dialogue and the slapstick, I think one of my favorite points is when, you know, so Cuphead takes off the sweater.
Yeah, and
then he and Mugman go to, they let the devil paint the fence, you know, they trick him to do their chores, and then they sneak off to go on this
New
roller
ride.
coaster thing,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah. And then the devil finds them there. He has no idea that Cuphead took off the sweater, and Mugman kind of leaves in order to get it. So, and while they're there, there's actually this little bit where Cuphead starts making these awful jokes to the devil, which eventually the devil starts warming up to.
Yep.
And the only reason he's going along with it is so that they could get to the ride, and then the ride would be so intense that it will make their clothes just fly off in the middle of the ride. So again, all of this is hilarious, and then you hear their interaction where they are actually having a laugh with each other, and the devil goes, "You know what, Cuphead, you're not so bad after all," and he puts his hand on him, and then there's like this point where he realizes it, and he moves his hand like so quickly, like, "Wait a minute, I can touch him. There's no sweater."
And he keeps doing it. Yeah, I think that's probably the best joke of the episode.
and then it's like, and then Mugman comes in and just puts the sweater on the devil.
And it just electrocutes him so much.
Yeah. Great episode, really. And I think the joke at the end where it's real. Actually, speaking of that joke in the end where we see Cuphead and Mugman go back home with all of their clothes taken off. I had no idea that the black on them is a shirt.
Apparently, yeah.
I always thought it was their skin, but apparently no. It's a shirt.
It makes sense though.
Yeah, it makes sense, but I think maybe I'm just too in the Mickey Mouse set of of like that he's like he only has pants but no shirt.
I think
maybe that's because
Disney's done a joke like that before too, haven't they? Where like the black isn't like his skin or something like that before. I think they've done a joke like that, right?
From what from the memory I have, no, he's just he just has black skin.
Okay. I didn't know if they'd done a joke like that before
something. I can't believe this is the first image that came to my head, but there are all those Disney comics, which eventually inspired DuckTales.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember there was a comic there where you actually see Mickey Mouse naked. I don't know why, but somebody decided this is a thing. And all of him is black. There's not, like the black part of him is not a shirt.
Fair.
That was an odd tangent. Moving on to episode.
Yeah, our story time with the devil is done. He's in torturous pain now because of the sweater and having to recover. So back to our kind of episode of the week style with episode 10, Dangerous Mugman.
I guess, very traditional. A scaredy cat character becomes brave for a second, but that's the thing. But again, it's an episode type that but it's still fun.
Yeah. I think I personally enjoyed Pork Rind a bit more in this, especially like the first one where it's him daydreaming about literally killing them because they're so annoying and he hates them. Like,
yeah,
wow, that was dark really quick.
Yeah, that was dark, but again, it's just one of those, we have two characters that their heads are literally cups.
Mm-hmm.
In how many ways can we show cups getting blown up to bits and pieces?
Fair.
And not gonna lie, it's pretty hilarious. Just keep those edits where there's actually blood coming out of them away from me.
Fair.
Speaking of YouTube edits, this has nothing to do with Cuphead, but I just want to say that if you go back to our MCU Spider-Man episode, I totally said that once Spider-Man No Way Home is released on Blu-ray, and sadly Blu-ray clips have been leaked, someone is gonna edit Bolly Maguire doing dance on Tobey Maguire's dance, and somebody actually did it.
Yep.
I am a fucking genius. I called it.
Hey, someone had to eventually, right? You did call it, but someone had to
but
do it eventually.
I still call that there are recorded evidence that I did. That's it. I just had to get this out because it literally happened today.
Fair,
So
fair. You deserve your moment.
anyway, back. Mhm. So
You
back to
get
the
them so
Cuphead
rarely.
Show. Mhm. Hey.
You agreed.
Comedic timing. We have it. Not really.
Sometimes.
So back to back to Dangerous Mugman. Like I said, I don't really have a lot to say. Just that a fun little episode,
Mhm.
and it's nice to see Mugman actually break out of the shell.
Yeah.
Oh, also, there's a three-headed dragon. Is this a Ghidorah reference from Godzilla?
No, I think this
I
is a
know there's
reference
a boss like
to.
that.
Well, it might be. There's a boss in the game though. That's that as well, if I'm not
No,
mistaken.
I was about to say I'm half joking. I know there's a boss like that in the game, but like,
Fair, fair.
So I don't really have anything
No, I
else to
mean,
say about
again,
this one.
it's a fun episode, but not too much you can really talk about in regards to this one, I would say. Other than, some of the slapstick
Yeah.
and the dialogue comedy, which again, still good, but if you've seen it before, it's that character coming out of his shell, being brave because he was tricked into being brave, and that's it.
Yeah. So now moving on to an episode I really wanted to hear your thoughts about. Dealt Snap.
This one's great. I loved Elder Kettle in this one. Just like the entire episode is the idea of like, oh, I overhear people talking about, and I mistakenly assume it's about me when it's not. And then just him going
Yeah.
absolutely insane, thinking Mugman and Cuphead are going to kill him because he's getting too old and everything.
Yeah. It's one of those, it's such a dark episode in terms of the humor. This is such an unfiltered black comedy. But at some point near the end, it starts getting a bit too disturbing, if you ask me. Like they overdo it a bit, but fuck, they're taking a cliche that I hate in movies. Like I think if you go back to the time we did a Shrek podcast, I mentioned in the first Shrek movie that I really hate that. Oh, Shrek heard Fiona talking about herself, but he thought she's talking about him, and they mope about it. And they took that annoying ass cliche and made it
Well,
hilarious.
here's
They
the thing.
made
The
it
reason
work in a comedy.
the reason it's annoying is because it's so drawn out, because it takes way too long to get resolved.
Yeah.
In this, it's 11 minutes. It's 11 minutes, and the entire idea behind it is it's meant for comedy. It's meant to get a laugh out of how over the top Elder Kettle takes it, to the point where he turns his entire house into a death trap for Mugman and Cuphead to try and get them first, and he's the one who falls for all the traps. Right? That's what makes it funny, because his misunderstanding is entirely his own fault, and he's the one who suffers for it, not the other people. And on top of that, again, it lasts for only 11 minutes. It's there just long enough to be funny, and then it's done. In a lot of these other movies and shows, when they do stuff like this, it's completely drawn out. And it takes way too long to get resolved, and that's why it's so annoying.
I think you just nailed exactly why it works here.
It's quick, it's done simply, and the person who has the misunderstanding is the one who suffers for it.
Yeah, I think they might overdo it just a bit, especially when he decides to kill them back.
Yeah.
But
like they definitely might go over the top of it too much, but at the same time, I think the escalation is what makes it, personally, in my opinion, I think the escalation is what makes it enjoyable. How over the top it ends up being in terms of like how far he thinks he needs to go.
So, moving on to the final episode.
Yeah. Episode 12. In Charm's Way.
So I think the one thing everyone is talking about with this is that we have Miss Chalice in this episode, who the time of this recording is supposed to be a part of the upcoming Delicious Last Course DLC for Cuphead, which is coming out in a few months at the time of this recording.
Mm-hmm.
So she was obviously popular when she was revealed because it's a female character in an animated franchise. So of course, people went gaga for it. And if I may quote Cadikeres, why would you like to fuck a cup? But that's a story for another day.
The internet's the internet. Don't question.
But at the same time, for a character that's basically kind of half made up for the show, because again, we don't know what she's gonna be in the game, what she's gonna be like in the game. I think she's a fun addition.
Yeah, I think she works for what she is, being like, this great con artist who can get whatever she wants and charm her way into anything.
By the way, how ironic is it that she is voiced by Grey Dalil, who also voices Catwoman in a lot of Batman stuff?
It's a good fit. It's a good pick.
Yeah.
But this one has something that completely, like, when you talk about how, like, oh, the liquid's supposed to be their brains and everything, but then this episode has something that just says, fuck you to that, because their entire thing is like, they try and get into a cookie, they charm their way into a cookie factory where they start eating all the cookies and everything. And one of the things is they dunk the cookies in their own cups to eat them. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, okay. That is weird.
That was the thing that made me go, what? What? Well, okay, just moving past it, just ignoring it.
Yeah, that was odd. But yeah, I'm just what?
No words.
Yeah, no one. Now that you brought this image back into my head, I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's when it gets weird.
Yeah, that's when it gets weird. After the last episode, yeah, this is something. If this is where things get weird.
But I'm also curious to hear how you feel about the ending to this episode, because I feel like this is like
so just
the most sequel bait you can have.
Yeah, so let me get to it, okay? Because I just want to say regarding the episode itself, I think it was fun. I'm not sure how much influence the DLC had on Mrs. Chalice's representation here, but she was a fun character. The plotline was fun with her. I'm glad that there was no stupid love triangle. Thank you, at least for now.
For now.
But then we suddenly end on a literal to be continued, because they do say to be continued in the episode after Mrs. Chalice accidentally trips an alarm, and when the cops show up, she kind of leaves an unconscious Cuphead and Mugman at the scene of the crime while she runs away.
Yeah.
And then the cops show up, throw Cuphead and Mugman in jail, and that's it. That's where the season ends, with a little to be continued plastered in the middle of the screen.
And this is where I think season 2 will probably get into more story-heavy stuff, and you'll have more of a through line, because Mrs. Chalice uses, like the ability from the game where if you, die in the game, you turn into a soul, and she turns into that form, right? And then phases through a wall to get away from the cops and everything, and leaves them there. So I'm curious if they'll do more stuff with her and Cupman and Mugman figuring out new abilities or something like that. And also, you have the thing of they've been arrested.
I wonder if they're gonna give them, that pea shooter thing that they use.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, right? Are they gonna go? Is this how they connect it back to the games finally, and they start taking other people's souls to pay back for Cuphead?
Yeah,
I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm curious regarding the direction, because for all we know, this could be just to be continued because from what I know, the Netflix ordered a certain amount of episodes, and really the thing now is that they just choose what episodes to release at what time. And we know that season 2 is coming in the summer of this year, so in a few months, at the time of this recording. But so obviously they have some sort of a plan, like the writers had some sort of to do with Miss Chalice. The question is if it's just gonna be, like the Sweater episodes, that it's basically a two-parter, but not really. Or like that, for all we know, season 2 opener closes the Mrs. Chalice plot, and we don't have anything else to do with it for the rest of the season.
Could be.
For all we know.
Yeah, like it could
But
be
for all
more
we
of a
know-
story-focused thing moving forward, or it could just be, like you say,
Yeah.
two-parter, then we're done and we move
Because
on.
again, I bring up Amphibia, which also kind of had this, that it had an overarching story, but season 1 for the most part, there were hints here and there on the bigger picture, but overall it was really episodic and didn't really have much of an overarching plot until the season 1 finale, and then season 2 becomes a lot more story focused, and also
Like a
season
lot of
3,
shows
which
do,
is recording.
somewhat.
Yeah, and yeah, so in this sense, they could really go either way about it, and I won't lie, I was so pissed to see that to be continued just pop up on the screen. It's like, because like, why? But also, I will say, as much as I kind of hate I talked about this plenty, I still think that the show overall gave me a lot in terms of just the one season. Maybe also because I know that there are going to be more episodes, but I also think it gave me enough for a season that I don't need to say, oh, I need to see, how season 2 is gonna, how future seasons are gonna be before I judge what I got now. No, I can judge season 1 on its own merits, on its own episodes, and on its own qualities. So I can, at least I can say that. I can say that I like the show a lot from just the one season, and that I'm looking forward to seeing more instead of looking forward to seeing what they're gonna do with it.
That's fair.
In order to make a full judgment.
Very fair indeed.
Yeah. So I said my bit. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I think I would say I'm interested in season 2 to see where they go and what they do, right? And if they'll do more of a story-focused thing, or if they're just going to continue on with the more episodic style. I'm curious in that regard. But otherwise, I think this is a great background show in the future, right? Like, this will be something that I can put on and just kind of zone out to a little bit, where I don't have to be too focused on it, and I can enjoy it. And, it's 11 minutes of my time per episode. This is probably the easiest show in the world to binge watch. But
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd want to
again,
binge watch it.
Honestly, I have did it because I watched 6 episodes and then I watched the other 6.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a good, that's what, 10 minutes per episode? That's an hour of your time at that point. That's great.
Yeah. So overall, I had a good time with the Cuphead Show. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. I assume you are in the same boat?
Yeah, it's a great callback to old styles of shows and the way they did things back then, and it works really well.
Indeed. So with that said, that's all for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed. What are your thoughts on the Cuphead Show and maybe even the Cuphead game? If you played it, you can tell us all about it in the comment section below, on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team. So until next time, I was HC.
I was Wolf.
And we will see you all next time when Wolf is out of the 30s. Take care.
Bye-bye.